Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Lawler here with some more roster news as the trade window is coming to an end on Sunday. We'll be trying to pay attention as close as we can to that, but we've got some new ones, some official confirmations, and some that may have slipped between the cracks. As always, if you guys enjoy the content, like, subscribe, notifications. Shout out to everybody in chat coming and hanging out. If you guys want to be part of these conversations, twitch.tv/Lawler, come hang out with us. Rather than making you guys read through all these, we're going to start. First one's first. The incorrect roster, which ranking wise has had some glimpses, but hasn't been able to really push through consistently. They're sitting right outside the top 16, but as a team, some potential. They've definitely played upset more so in scrim results, but haven't been able to translate it necessarily to the mainstay of RLCS. Now, the reason why this roster has some interest for my sake is because of the NRG debacle. NRG has obviously gone through many iterations, and it seems like it wasn't long before Toasty, who got replaced by Drees, and then Drees got assumed by Aqua. But Toasty has found a new home with Expert and Flitz. Flitz is the only remaining player, so it looks like Incorrect is like, you know what? We don't have enough points for it to matter. Let's just rebuild altogether and start anew, and they're going to do exactly that. So Toasty, former NRG, you've got Flitz, who was with Incorrect, and then Expert could do some damage. I do agree with some of the statements by Alpha Cap here, but I think this team has some sneaky talent on it that could do some good things. Curious on how they're going to approach and what they're going to do. It looks like CJ, who's that too? I don't know who that is, and their Twitter doesn't even work, so maybe that's their coach or their analyst, whatever the emoji is supposed to be. I tried to reach out to Terror, who's with Incorrect. He's kind of the founder of it, and he didn't provide any statement as of yet, but it made me curious on what was going to be happening with the former team. We actually got to find that out almost immediately. For those that don't know, 021 was the original trio and the original unsigned team of Tool, Angel, and Flitz. Looks like Tool and Angel are going to be joining with Cosmic, who you guys should know from the 1v1 scene. So interesting to see how this team ends up doing. 0-1, obviously no points worth mentioning. So again, starting at the same place, but I do have some faith behind this team. This team could definitely be competing in that like top 24, trying to fight for top 16 round. I would not be surprised if they play upset to a couple. This one, very interested to see how it applies. Tool and Angel haven't really found the success that I think they're looking for, but still competitive. A lot of support in their staffing as well. Curious to see how it goes. Upsides of that, nothing really going on in NA. Big things to pay attention to, and we'll talk about it more so in the future, is the start pages. And you guys saw me have one open for a specific team at the very beginning. When those get locked in, we'll know more information. Some of these signups, though, have players on their pre-existing teams, and it's going to have to wait until we get the official confirmation. That's why some of the ones I want to talk about, don't want to get ahead of myself too much. But some of the rumors coming out from Shift is about Endpoint. Endpoint obviously has been kind of lackluster with the results as of late. They haven't really seen the glory days since Seiko was over there. But it looks like they are looking to potentially get rid of in this Monkeys trio of Smokes, Arju, and Metane to depart with Smokes and bring in Toxic. And you're like, but isn't Toxic on Top Cougars? What the heck is going on with that? Well, Top Cougars did announce that they have a new roster, and they're going to bring in Seamus. Maybe an improvement. Curious to hear, I think, from Gregan on what the decision is behind this one of getting rid of Toxic, what the reasons are or why. But Seamus definitely has had some performances. That's the fast forward roster that he was on that was making a pretty sizable impact. Like, if Top Cougars is able to show improvement even more so and take a leap up, they're still part of that conversation, especially if the stuff with Resolve ends up happening with the Redemption roster and everything else. Hopefully this strengthens a little bit. We've been seeing a lot more consolidation and refinement so far from NA or from EU. NA seems to be a little bit behind the curve on that, except for like the bubble area. But most of the guys in like the conversation for 5th aren't really making any changes. Outside of that, Oxygen does end up confirming. We've been talking about the Joyo situation in our previous video. They do officially confirm that EXO is being dropped. Therefore, it looked very, very likely for the Joyo situation to happen. They're probably still finalizing contracts and trying to make sure that all goes through. But EXO rumors right now are to go to Moist in place of Joyo. It looks like to be a firm handshake agreement if that is the case. There's also a lot of conversations around Moist of them potentially dropping their roster and picking up a team in North America where Moist Critical and the Moist esports team is based, which would make sense. But I don't know if they want to go to a team that already has or go to a roster that already has complications. Like, in my opinion, they're better off picking up like Magnifico or something if they're going to do anything, but we'll see how that goes. Up next, Magnifico. Speaking of, yeah, I talked about you guys Astro potentially trying out, but with Magnifico in particular, now that Stizzy is pretty much all but confirmed going to Dignitas, it seems. We were kind of curious on what the conversation was. I talked about Luna Galaxy and a Chronic. Well, if you go to their Start GG page, they've already signed up with a Chronic. So curious to see on if that plays out the way it does. Start GG, you guys got to understand when you sign up, Magnifico as a team stays as one entity. So any previous existing are already tied to that. But the fact that our Chronic was not previously there and has been added is a good sign. So very likely that Magnifico roster may be coming together. I would not be surprised if you see Xperi come into this conversation as well, if Luna Galaxy does pick them up for financial compensation. So that is what it is looking to be. One that's a little bit more fun and more of a throwback is the fact that obviously Tea Time with Scrub Killer had a lot of fun and a lot of support behind it, but teaming up with Remco and Greasy Meister. Those are some old names that some people may not be familiar with. Remco, former of TSM. He's still got the TSM tag in his name because that's how long it's been since he signed up and played. And then Greasy, obviously former world champion. Apparently his profile pic is Zac Efron. I don't know. Greasy's a different breed. But there's some pretty interesting comments going on around this team saying like this team would really do damage in season 3 and some other things of that nature. So a little bit spicy for some of those comments. But overall, I think this is definitely more of it's a nostalgia feel. It's more of a fun throwback, even though Weedham Girl's name is OG. So curious to see if they'll actually be able to do. I don't know if Remco or Greasy has kept up with the game. Like, I have no idea how this team's going to perform, but for selfish reasons, I want to support it and root for it. Outside of that, then, we do have our official confirmation with Rule 1. You guys heard me talk about Rule 1 and some of the problems that I think they weren't really living up to the eye test that I had. I just didn't really feel as confident around the team as I wish I would. But with that in mind, I wasn't sure if they were going to make changes or not. They did end up making changes. Unfortunately, it's going to be Ahmad, who is getting the boot that is officially coming from the Rule 1 team. And shortly after, they did announce the replacement, which is going to be Venom, who has performed quite well on LAN in previous years. I think he was with Twisted Minds, if I remember correctly. But Twisted Minds is where Venom really got his debut and looked really good. He then ended up going over to Bravado, and you even see Bravado saying, hey, take good care of him and stuff. But I think that this is an improvement. I think it's really tough when you talk about these teams and stuff, especially with the OGs and the ones that pioneered between Ocalad and everything else. I think Ocalad, while he may have had some hiccups on LAN, he still performed pretty solid. And Ahmad definitely had some complications. So I think it's difficult to see this like passing of the guard or this new mentality when you look at players that were pioneers and people that were the foundation of how it is and having to shift. You're going to start seeing that, I think, sooner than later in North America as well. But it is something that has to happen if you want to stay competitive, because there is some really solid talent in the Mena pool between their kind of like top 4, top 5. You even have those young guns from Team Rock that are all 14 that are really talented as well, that as long as they have structure and shaping and someone can guide them, you could see some really good people coming out of that. But again, that's what we've got for roster stuff. That's a pretty quick one for you guys all today. If you have any additional questions, comments, concerns, as always, let me know in the comments down below. As always, check out the roster document for the most up-to-date and latest information, and we'll do an all-encompassing like, hey, these are all the changes that happened when the season actually starts, which is going to be in just about a little bit over a week here. RLCS qualifiers and stuff happening on the 19th. Pretty crazy. But as always, if you guys enjoy the content, like, subscribe, notifications. We'll see you in the next one.